right, Mr. Richard Khasim, my good friend, thank you so much for being on the Elite Agent Talk. I've been running into you so much, and I've always wanted to have you on the show. But yeah, how you doing? Thanks again for being on the show.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much. I'm super appreciative. And obviously, we look up to you and we're grateful for the opportunity. So,
Oh, awesome. Well, let me give you everybody a little bio about yourself. You're a 15-year farmers insurance agent, office located in Escondido, California. You have 11 staff members, 7 million in farmers premium with close to 7,000 in PIF, five presidents councils, five farmers open. So yeah, anything else I missed? What are some things you're proud about your agency you could share?
I think one of the biggest things that we're proud about is just being able to have like good staff, to really help um, differentiate what you do as an agency owner. I like to try and work with my agency, not in my agency, and I think that that's really helped. Obviously, I'm not at your level quite yet, but I'm doing the best that I can to get there. But through inspiration and through attending these events and really talking to other agents, it's really helped me see what they're doing and how I can, take bits and pieces of what everyone else is doing and just make myself better.
Yeah, I think you're great at that, just building relationships and valuing them. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we kind of were in the same group together, like the focus group and how you're dealing with some of these changes that we're facing in California. And I'm sure all agents across the country are dealing with changes. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And we also had the chance to be on the same commercial panel for National Sales Week. So
Yes.
definitely want to ask you about, your commercial expertise and want to learn from you about that and then other things too. But before we get touch those two subjects, can you share with us how you even got started in the insurance business?
Yeah, so I started the insurance business 15 years ago. As soon as I was graduating high school, and I started doing real estate and loans back in 2006, 2007, 2005. Very lucrative business. I was, 18 years old, making a lot of money, and as everyone knows, that market kind of dissipated, very quickly within a couple of years. And at the time, my mom was an insurance agent, and
Hmm.
she also did taxes. So she kind of did farmers on the side when it was allowed back then, to kind of do two things at once. And she had a very small book, 350 policies at the time, and she was going to give it back to farmers. And she said, "Hey, if you're interested, I can sell it to you." And at the time, I saw my revenue of selling real estate and loans decreasing immensely every day that went by. That was it was getting more and more gloomy.
Hmm.
So I took on the opportunity, and yeah, that's kind of where I started. I took on 350 policies 15 years ago, and now I'm up to almost 7,000. So
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I remember those times. Do you think it helped you that you had made some money early on in your in your career, even though, the mortgage business didn't work out?
absolutely. I think it's one of those things, when you are flying first class, when you're with people that make a lot of money, when you're doing things, going to high-end restaurants. I mean, that's a lifestyle that you really want to keep, right? And you don't want to go backwards from there. So I think having that, I would say success, right, in the form of revenue at that age, really sparked something in me that I just never wanted to go backwards. So I was doing whatever it took to keep that lifestyle. And at the time, given the minimal opportunities that were available, in 2008, 2009, when everything was crashing, I took the opportunity and I did the best I could with it.
Yeah, and I can really relate with you because that's exactly the same time I started. So tell us a little bit about the first few years. Were you a superstar agent right off the bat, or
Not at all. So I did, one of the good and bad is, because it was a family life transfer, I didn't have any requirements whatsoever. I was selling three, four, five policies a month and just racking in the small renewals, 2, 3 grand a month at the time. And I didn't have any requirements, So because of that, I didn't have anyone calling me. I didn't have a district manager saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this?" There were none, and it was great, but obviously it didn't help, propel my career. But what I did do at the time is I always felt education was important. So during that time, I did have a full career in education. When I was 18, I got I'm sorry, when I was 19, I got 2 associate's degrees. By the time I was 21, I got my bachelor's. And by the time I turned 24, I got my MBA, my master's in business administration. So I did do something with the extra time. And I think that was important, not necessarily because of the information I received, but just being able to put a goal, set a goal in place and be able to complete those goals. That's why I'm huge in education. It's not about, what you're educated in. You can learn all the technical aspects in on-job training. It's just the fact that you set a goal and completed that goal at a very standardized, process and procedure. So
Yeah, definitely makes you learn, time management and discipline to, accomplish goals. So that's kind of what schools helps us out with. So after you're done with school, when did it start taking off, your career? Like, was there any like moments in your career that helped you propel you to the next level? Was it just gradually the whole time?
yeah, absolutely. So right when I graduated with my MBA, I decided at that time that I wanted to, that this had gone well enough that I was ready. I was ready and prepared to focus 100% of my attention in this business. And right then and there, I just said, this is it. So I started putting myself in better positions to be able to sell more policies with clients, networking groups, and doing the right things at the time to start the process of being an elite agent at that time. So I remember my first championship was in Chicago, and it was such an amazing experience that I just got hooked. It was not a too difficult year to make, but that's all it took to really just see a different side that I had never seen prior. So that was, I believe, in 2017 or 16. But that championship was a phenomenal opportunity. And I know that those opportunities are available even today with toppers and other events and prestigious, places where you could go and meet up with other people. And it was just a phenomenal experience.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that's when the new logo was
That's exactly, yeah.
yeah, that was my first championship too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first championship. So
Yeah, that was a cool experience to kind of be there. It was seemed like a new era, and then to just be around great agents too. But so right now, your agency, what do you guys kind of specialize in? What are kind of like your guys's, like you said, what differentiates you guys? But what products specifically should we start off with that you guys
yeah,
do well?
thank you, Dan. Yeah, so commercial is really what I like. Commercial, I feel there's just so much value in commercial. There's so much more opportunity in commercial, and even with all the the booby traps, right, that are placed in front of us, you have to go left, go right, never mind, slow down, speed up, right? But there's just so much opportunity available. There's so many products. They're easy to write, easy to maneuver, and you can collect higher premiums. It doesn't matter if it's $1,000 policy or a $20,000 policy. For the most part, the process is the same. So with that being said, I try to do the best I can to obtain the highest premium type of accounts, right? Because in my mind, whether it's one vehicle or 10 vehicles in a commercial auto, you sell it the same way, you present it the same way, right? It's the same certificates, it's the same ID cards. If you're going to do it for one car, do it for 10 cars, right? So that's kind of what I focus on. I try to do my best to to utilize all the resources that are available. I do my best to educate myself in what our competitive advantages from us and other carriers, and I think that helps. All that little different knowledge points and experience points and practicality, all that really helps.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is because commercial auto is something I have a lot of interest in, and I just don't have like a game plan or anything. With that, what are some tips, just beginner's tips when it comes to commercial auto? How do you even get started with that?
Absolutely. So I started doing towing, and that was what I did many years ago, and that's kind of what what sparked my interest in commercial auto. I saw the big premium dollars. I saw what was available. Unfortunately, farmers had to make the strategic decision to exit towing due to unfavorable market trends, and I don't blame them for it. It makes total sense, and why they did that. But that's what allowed me to get the love for the commercial auto aspect, right? You go for fleets, you go for big accounts. There's so many businesses that have fleets available, and we're open to write so many of those. And again, all it takes is VIN numbers, right? VIN numbers populate 99% of the information of the vehicle. Most of these people have spreadsheets for you that give you the VINs, the make, the model, the usage of the vehicle. And you could even upload spreadsheets into BIE to give you, the pricing for it. And we're so good at underwriting them. We're much more lenient than many other carriers. I've worked with other carriers, and we just have a phenomenal product, that's available, for those people that utilize those type of policies.
Yeah, and I think commercial auto, since a lot of us, when we started the insurance business, we started writing personal lines. And when you write personal auto, it's kind of a good transition because you know how to write auto insurance. You know what the rating factors are for auto insurance. And to go into commercial auto, I think that's something that makes sense for my producers. But tell us how exciting it could be. Like, what are some like larger accounts?
Yeah, I
How
mean,
many cars?
so my largest account was $500,000. It was an amazing opportunity.
Oh man.
It was a large tow company. I think they had about 40 tow trucks and change. So it was great. Unfortunately, with the transition, those accounts are nearing the end of term here with farmers, and it's okay. It's okay. It happens. We're just doing the best that we can to supplement that business with different things. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been a struggle to try and go into something new. This is what I've done, what my agency's done, and we're doing the best that we can, and we're definitely not in the same position that we were before, but we're doing the best that we can to try and transition, explore other market opportunities that farmers has to offer, and try and go in different directions. So we're still in the middle of a transition, and doesn't matter if you're a 7 million agency or a 1 million. I mean, we all have the same type of struggles, and that's where we are today. So I'm doing the best that we can, and we hope that we can transition into something new that we can start to get a new groove on. So
Yeah, man, we have so many similarities, Same thing, I'm going through with my Bristol book of business and having those. So the towing is kind of a similar situation. I think you have quite a bit of that, right? Like
yeah,
two,
about
two.
$2.5 million was non-renewed essentially.
Wow. Now, are you trying to find different a market for that, like a different carrier for that?
Yeah, so as you know, I mean, being a farmer's agent, there's so many benefits, within the insurance world, but unfortunately, there's also some drawbacks, right? And one of those drawbacks is that it's very hard, to be a true broker in which other markets would see you as a broker and as a good partner for them. So it's been difficult to get appointments outside to be able to transition. Not impossible. We're working through it, and we've been able to find a few carriers in a few markets, but unfortunately it's hard to find access to your premier markets because I'm an established farmers agent. So but I'm loyal to farmers, and if it means I lose a little bit here and there, then that's what it is. There's nothing better than a farmer's contract, and I know that firsthand. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a great attitude, and I share the same attitude with you too. But talk to us a little bit about how'd you develop that mindset, because some agents will really struggle with, bad news or changes and what's going on with the market, with the hard market. Now we can't write certain things or our books getting non-renewed. I'd rather have rate increases, but other states it could be rate increases. But what are some tips you have as far as just, dealing with changes and challenges in this business?
absolutely. I think this is just in general, right? So I've learned early on that there's nothing to all you do by stressing or overworking your mind on things that you can't control. You really pause the the time it takes to get back on track, right? So
Mm.
I do everything in my power to try and control everything around me. I'll do everything in my power to make my position heard with farmers by any means possible. But if I did everything that I could and it wasn't in the cards, and it wasn't the way it is, I move on. It's okay. I did everything that I could. And I'm going to move on. There's no need to worry about the $2.5 million loss. I need to worry, not even worry. I just need to find the transition on how I'm going to replace that or do something different. And the faster I do that, the faster it works. And I'm a firm believer that attitude is 100% everything. I really go to bed at night. When that news happened, it really didn't affect me because, again, I know that I didn't cause that, right? I know that it wasn't my decision, and I know that I had done everything in my power to do the best that I could. So all it took was, okay, we're less than $2.5 million in premium. Awesome. Starting tomorrow, we're going to have meetings about how we're going to transition this, how we're going to do the best that we can. And it really was mentally an easier transition than to really worry and stress out because when there is disruption, there's opportunities, and Farmers has been absolutely great to me. And I believe they've been great to everyone. They are standing strong behind their agents. They're letting agents make their own decisions. Obviously, there's a lot of disruption that's market based disruptions, and they're letting agents make decisions. Hey, there's market-based disruptions. Here's what the path that we need to take. You're either with us, and if you're with us, here's all the resources we're going to provide for you to stay with us. If this is not the path you want to take, it's okay. It's okay, and thank you for the time that we had together. And if there is something else that you feel would be a better fit for you and your family at this time, it's okay. And I'm on board. I see the future. It's a very bright future, for those that do decide that the path to stay with Farmers is the way to go. And I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, I love it. Same here. But yeah, I think you touched on something really important there. Some agents just take too long in the dwelling stage and just get stuck there. And it's so important for us to look at things just objectively and not, subjectively and get all emotional about it or just think like the company's going after them specifically. It's like, there's a lot of things that's happening, but to just move on as fast as possible when there's changes and think of the solution rather than just focus on the problem. I think you just said it beautifully, man. So what are some of your transitions to your market that you kind of want to focus on when it comes to commercial auto? What business groups?
Absolutely. So fleets, right? So anything that has more than 10 cars, right, is really there's
Wow.
just so many. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but Farmers writes trucks all day long. I mean, if people are delivering their own goods, right, they could have a fleet of 50 big, huge trucks, and we'll write all 50 of them. Right. A lot of people think of, trucks as trucking. Obviously, we don't do trucking, but what we don't do is trucking for hire. We are 100% open for trucks of clients delivering their own goods, wholesale, retail. I mean, those are huge opportunities. A lot of businesses, even restaurants, have catering trucks. We write those. There's just such a broad availability of market. Unfortunately, just like most people, is we focus on, well, I had this trucking guy call me, or this tow guy, and he has 50 tow trucks, and Farmer doesn't want it. That means they don't want anything. It's like, well, I mean, they want many things, just unfortunately not the things that come easy, because sometimes they just don't understand. If something comes easy to you, it's because it's difficult in the market, right? It's because they're asking everyone, right? If things were easy in the market, right, they most likely wouldn't be asking 50 agents, right, to help them with this. So sometimes when agents call me, oh my gosh, I got this tow account, I'm totally going to write it, and I'm like, well, I mean, you may or may not write it. Farmers is not the prime carrier for tow trucks or for, this type of fleets or whatever. But it's just about focusing on volume and focusing on what Farmers wants, and they're very clear on what they want. They're very clear. We just, we believe that Farmers has to do everything that benefits us. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that Farmers is a corporation. right, with stakeholders, right? And we are not their only revenue stream, right? Farmers has the full right to seek other revenue streams, such as direct channels, other products, other companies. They have the right to shut down those revenue streams or slow them down as they see fit to protect the stakeholders, right? We are one aspect of the puzzle. We are a very important aspect of the puzzle, but sometimes decisions are made that don't necessarily benefit or affect us, right? And sometimes decisions are made that actually do affect us, but maybe benefits them in through a different channel, right? And I think having that business understanding, it's like when agents get upset when a client gets upset because their rates go up, right? And you as the agent, you're like, well, why don't they understand, right? Well, it's kind of similar to agents, right? When they make a change or a transition, we're the client saying like, well, I can't believe that they're making this change, right? But after the changes are discussed and explained, same thing when we do with our clients, we discuss and explain why there was a rate increase or why we're non-renewing their policy. We expect the client to have a better understanding and say, okay, well, I don't like that, right? That doesn't help me personally, but I understand why it's happening, right? And then the client has a choice to either make adjustments, right? Or move somewhere else or stay, right? And so do we. We are in a free market, and we have choices just as consumers have choices.
Yeah, when agents complain too much, it's like, well, and like, what are you gonna do? It's your choice. Like, no, you're not forced to become a farmer's agent. But yeah, I really want to acknowledge you for just the pride you have and standing behind the brand, and looking at the big picture. And I know you've been in so many like focus groups, and you do such a great job of understanding the big picture, but still, presenting points that could help the agents out. And I think there's a fine line between, pushing too much tell us a little bit. Well, first of all, there probably are, with your experience, some things that you've influenced. Is there anything that you could share with us? Because I've had some too, being in, in these little groups. Um,
So my biggest thing that I feel that I helped influence, because obviously there's so many people and it's not, we're all in this together. But one of the biggest things that I felt was an important change that I feel that I kind of did my part in is DocuSign. The company and legal was very against DocuSign in its current form. They wanted their own system, their own signature system through the portal inside of the farmers.com account. And, Keith Daly, president of Personalized at the time, every time I would see him, he would run away, he'd be like, let's do DocuSign. I promise this is going to be a game changer. And he told me, he said, I didn't want to see you anymore. I would run away from you when I saw you, because I knew deep down that was a solution to help us do better. It was just very difficult to get a company of this size to hop on board, right? Their product was not with it, legal wasn't with it, right? So he said one day he put everyone into a meeting, product, legal, and he walked in and he said, guys, we're doing DocuSign. It's going to be done outside of the farmers.com system. That's what we're doing. And he left the meeting. And ever since then, we now have a DocuSign, and it's been a complete game changer, on how we do business. And I feel like I did my part to help with that. So
nice. Love it. Yeah, some of these things, like, untold stories, like people don't know. But I think there's other things too. But yeah, it's great to be part of those groups. The focus group was a great experience. Circling back to commercial auto again, okay. Tell us some advice on how to just market, because how do you even like get to quote someone like that? That's kind of the challenges as agents want to get into commercial, is just the marketing piece, like just getting started.
Yeah, the marketing piece is always the toughest part, right? So my specialty is not the marketing. My specialty is the technical aspect of, once the client comes in, how am I going to be able to rate that policy as competitively as possible? How am I able to make sure that all my ducks are in a row, that all the information's accurate, right? That I have the right mix of drivers to vehicles, right? This is all knowledge and experience that I've learned through reading the manual, right? And once you know, I work backwards, right? If I know that a fleet of vehicles, of 5 or more vehicles, is going to get a pretty hefty discount, right? I kind of put it out there, in my networking groups and my friends, like if you give me 5 or more trucks, like I'm going to be very competitive, right? So just if you know those caveats, you just start putting it out there, right? Everywhere you go, you're listening to people at parties, at events, you're asking for referrals, right? So what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting out there to people, because if someone else hears, hey, we're very competitive with 5 or more trucks, right? And I say that to a party, maybe they go to another party, or they have a friend that they say, oh, actually my friend has 7 trucks. I know you said something about like 5 or more is very competitive, like maybe you should give him a call, right? So that's what I'm looking for, right? So obviously I'm open to quote anybody, right? But if you start knowing what you're looking for, the type of trucks, the type of vehicles, the right zip codes, the contractors, we have discounts for contractors that many agents don't even know how to quote it properly, and that's the other thing. A lot of agents get upset. Well, why does Richard get lower pricing than John, right? And it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I know what to look for. I know how to quote it properly, right? I know how to ask the client, like, hey, you're only giving me 1 driver and 3 trucks. Are you sure there's no other drivers? Well, there is another driver, but he only works part-time. We need to put him on the policy, right? And just that question, right? If you don't know that there is a surcharge for having less drivers than vehicles, right, you would never ask the follow-up questions, right? A lot of agents don't know a married driver is much less expensive than a single or unknown, right? So many agents, why are they asking if they're married or single or unknown? I'm just going to put unknown for every single, I'm not even going to ask the client, right?
Mhm.
So they just price themselves 10, 15, 20% higher, not because that's what it should be, but because the agent didn't even bother to ask the clients that information that actually provides potential lower pricing. So little things like that is what you're looking for to really price everything correctly and be able to be competitive right off the bat.
Good stuff right there. Yeah, it goes back to the point you made earlier, find out what the company wants and look for that instead of trying to get whatever you can and then seeing if what the company takes and doesn't and, complain about what they don't do. Find out what they do, find out how they want it, and then really look out for that. That's good stuff. Yeah, the surcharge for the ratio drivers to car, Mary, what other tips helps you get, I know you have good relationships with underwriters, any other like, things that we should talk about when it comes to commercial auto?
Yeah, so I think just commercial in general, having a good relationship with the underwriter is so important, right? These underwriters want to know that you understand their point of view just as much as your point of view. If you're starting to put in business and you're starting to be a little loose on some of the questions and maybe not being as clear or maybe omitting some important information, once the underwriters kind of see that trend coming from your agency, you're going to get a lot of pushback, right? And that pushback is going to be in a form of maybe potential some declines for accounts that maybe should have been approved, right? But because you weren't forthcoming, because you didn't provide the right information, some of these things, these are humans, right? Underwriters are humans, and they can get upset, right, if they feel that you're trying to pull a fast one on them, right? So it's so important to build a good trusting relationship. This is such a long-term relationship that there is no one account that's worth your future, right? There is no this, I really need this account. It's my biggest account. It's $10,000 and I'm just gonna, just see what I can do. I'm gonna answer the questions, maybe a little bit, not as correct, or maybe I'll not say a few things that I think is important, right? Once they catch on and they catch that, it's gonna be very difficult for you to rebuild that trust, right? But if you are willing to do the right thing, maybe the account's not eligible. So you're going to be forthcoming. You're going to say, this is the account. They have a dog on the premises. It's a pit bull, whatever, right? These are things that's important. They may say to you, Dan, unfortunately, this account's not eligible for farmers today, right? But that next account that you come in, they're going to remember that, right? And that next account that comes in, you know what, this is kind of borderline. but I feel like you are being fully transparent and everything. I think we can get this one approved for you, right? So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the situations where it's kind of gray area and it's discretion and they can go in either direction. But when they trust you and they trust that you've done a good job, they're going to trust their decision and being able to move forward with the account. And that's what you want.
Absolutely. Just like anything else, building relationships is so important in business. What are other important relationships you could think of when it comes to how it helps your business?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously attending events, qualifying for toppers, qualifying for the Open, qualifying for championship, California Masters, President's Council. These are all opportunities to get in front of decision makers, company executives, right? Leadership. And it's so important that you build strong relationships, because when you build strong relationships, they start to see you as a partner. Right. And that's when you can have conversations, with these people and really understand that these are phenomenal people. I mean, they're very intelligent. I know it's easy for an agent to say, oh, they don't know what they're doing. I'm telling you firsthand that we have the most intelligent executives and heads of territories and heads of product and presidents of lines of businesses. They're so incredibly intelligent. And sometimes their hands are tied in decision making that may not be beneficial. Sometimes, you can sway them, by letting them know, hey, there's a decision that was made. I don't know if you also knew this street impact is what we would call it, right?
Mhm.
Because you guys are very intelligent and you guys do things and you guys have your statistics and your modeling and so forth. But I just wanted to, make it known that in my agency, the street impact of this decision may be this. And I don't know if you guys considered that. If not, I want to bring it to your attention, because if many people say the same thing, they may go back to the drawing board and say, hey, we didn't realize this street impact of this decision. Maybe we should just relook at this one more time. Right. And they do listen. They do listen. And they are always open to hear you. And that's why it's so important to attend events. Leadership is there. I mean, we just had the National Sales Week event, and we had head of territory, we had market leaders there, we had your sales manager, district managers, we had product teams, we had underwriters there. This was all a great opportunity that you have to get in front of them just by showing up. And it wasn't even like a qualifying event. So I hope that everyone took the opportunity to be there and talk to these people and really get to know them, because that's what kind of changes things, how we protect our future.
Yeah, it was a great event, a great turnout, great energy, and yeah, how we protect our future. That's really well said. And I feel like that's something that as a company we do a really great job of, is um, the company really valuing the agent's opinions and really asking for feedback and actually listening, and I think that's something that a lot of companies don't value as much, when it comes to management and agents and understanding and wanting to hear a perspective. I think that's something that I'm really grateful for. When it, back to commercial auto again, because I'm so, I'm just really focused on everything that's going on with personalized to try to write more, or just commercial in general. Do you think it's important to have some outside carriers in case, farmers declines certain products, or is that overrated? Or what's your thought on, because I'm new to that, I'm used to writing farmers and
Yeah.
farmers only, but with personalized situation, I've had to go outside a little bit. So I'm getting a little bit experience on that.
Yeah.
I know with commercial, there's a lot of big agents that does a lot outside of farmers. What's your thought on that? Is that a must, or is that overrated, or what do you think?
So I think that's changed recently. I always try to put a triangle peg into a square hole with farmers. I would do everything in my power to really educate the underwriter and how this was a good fit for farmers. And I was fairly successful for many of these years. Unfortunately, a lot of that discretion has been removed. I don't know if you know this, but in many industries, farmers won't take commercial auto if they have less than 2 years experience. And that's something that's very new, right? So up until recently, my position would have been, it's okay to have outside accounts, or outside markets, right? For your one-offs. unfortunately, it's starting to be a little bit more tilted, where outside markets is kind of becoming more of a standard because of all the restrictions that are being placed, especially in commercial auto and in industries in a time where farmers was very open for business. Now they're just trying to really laser focus, which is a great, and I don't disagree with the model, but it just puts us in a position where we have to re-strategize on how we operate our agencies. And so yes, so the answer is that as these changes have been happening within these last few months to the year, having outside markets is important to be able to run a sustainable model in commercial.
Okay, great. Yeah, totally makes sense. But that's the great this thing about farmers, how they respect they have the entrepreneurial spirit when it comes to the agent's contract, how it's structured. So, yeah, we always want to write more farmers business, but having that outside carriers, I think that is something to for me to look into too. So, all right, good stuff. So, yeah, just maybe a general question, I know we have some newer agency owners out there that want to get to the level you're at and make it to the achievement clubs and have staff. What are some things you could share with the newer agents out there?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things is that it takes time. It took me 7 years before I saw my first qualifying event, right? It just takes time. It takes time to build the momentum. It takes time to build the staff. It takes time to build the knowledge, the experience, and the practice, right? So I think if you're a newer agent and you're starting to, to struggle, right? Because everyone's going to struggle in the beginning. This is one of the toughest times in my 15 years that I've seen. So the good news about that is that making it through this tough time is going to make you so resilient, because good times are coming and they're going to be so amazing when they do come. It may take a few years, right? But so many agents, there's so much resource available today that wasn't available back then. There's so much commodity that's available today. District managers are so much more engaged. Territory leaders are much more engaged. We have a brand new CEO, Raul Vargas, who's a phenomenal president and CEO because he believes in the engagement of agents. He believes in this model so much that he's providing indirectly and directly resources to us to be able to move forward. So I just think it's going to take time. It's going to take a good attitude. It's just you have to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it is 100% there. When the markets crashed in 2008, 2009, those were tough times also. Those were very tough times. And that's when I started essentially. And that's what has helped essentially, be the person, because when you start in tough times, you're so much better positioned to do better faster.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good stuff there. Yeah, definitely becomes we're getting more resilient, and I think with experience it helps too. So that's why it makes sense that it does take time. But every challenge you get through, you become stronger, and then when things change, then you're more ready to ride the recovery stage with more momentum. But what are some changes you've also made with just billing and underwriting on the personal line side? Just challenges there, disruption. There's opportunity, but anything you could share as far as renewal billing changing or personal lines, underwriting changing. What's on your mind these days with that?
So there's one thing on my mind. Efficiency is the key thing. I've been in meetings with my staff these last 2-3 weeks on how we are going to minimize the contact points, how we're going to leverage technology for the contact points, how we're going to use templates for the similarities and situations. So we're leveraging videos, we're leveraging AI, we're leveraging text message, emails, phone calls, very clear and concise communication, and moving on to the next client. So that's one of the biggest things that my team is working on as we speak, is getting templates in our email system, getting templates in our text messaging system, creating an AI video, to be able to provide this information and just have a very specific contact points that are very clear that we feel comfortable moving on to the next client. And if that client were to call back and say, wait a minute, why did you take X amount of money from my account? Or why didn't you tell me? We could either say, but sir, we did tell you. We emailed you, we texted you, we left a voicemail, we sent a letter, and you got your renewal packet, and we even sent you a video for you, like explaining everything. If you don't engage back with us, there's just so much we can do, right? And we have to think in a business owner mentality, and it's not in the cards to really babysit 10% of your book when and give up 90% of the potential revenue streams and or opportunity costs. So it's a different mindset. And that's the way it has to be. When you're running an agency of almost 7,000 policies, if you don't have procedures, if you don't have structure, if you don't have efficiencies, you're going to go off into rabbit holes with this one guy who has one car, taking 3 hours of your time, because he's upset because his policy went up. And unfortunately, that's when business decisions need to be made. And maybe providing them a good level of service is all that client really needs. And if it's not the level of service that he expects, then you could gracefully say, this is, what we can offer. And we move on to the next client. So.
Wow, good stuff there. Yeah, I love how you're leveraging technology and being proactive. So your strategy is to reach out to every single one of them before they call, before they ask us why did we try to draft out $2,000.
Correct. That is
And then this will be one of the first conversations I'll ever have about agents using AI. Is that on the video side, or is that on the
on the video side? So we're exploring different things. So one of the things that we're looking into, Synthesia, I saw that on a Facebook ad, and we're exploring that to see if that's going to be a good fit, for what we're looking for. But the goal here is to provide a video, to the clients that tell them this is what's happening, here's why it's happening, here are your options, and if you don't like these options, this is what it is, right? If you like these options, call us. If you don't like these options, then don't call us and either pay or move on, right? So that's essentially what we're trying to do, is to, when that call comes in, if I can limit that 40-minute call to a 10-minute call, right, I've done my job, right? And that's really the goal, because those clients may still call in, but they're not going to be asking the basic questions, right? If we already provided them the answers as to like why it's happening, what the reason was, how did this affect them, and what the alternatives are, right? Now we just go straight into the alternatives. Okay, so it looks like you received the video. Did you have any questions on it? Nope, everything was clear. I want to move forward with adjusting coverages. Great, let's go ahead and move forward in doing that, right? Instead of being on the call for 15, 20 minutes, it's very exhausting for staff to do that. So I'm even to the point where if they haven't seen the video, my staff sends the video and then I'll call you back in 10 minutes. Just so they can move on to the next thing and go back to them. So now they're not, using their emotional intelligence to try and maneuver through all these calls that are going to happen for all these accounts. So,
wow, yeah, that's good stuff, man. I think I really love video for marketing for new business, but to use it for customer service in this situation, I think that's genius, because we find ourselves saying the same thing over and over again. And sometimes when it comes to like our staff or even ourselves, we just have good days and bad days, so sometimes we're just not great at explaining things or don't have the same enthusiasm. But the great thing about video is that if you get it accurate, then you can run that thing 1,000, 6,000, or 7,000 times in your situation, and it'll get the same message across accurately, and then it's replayable. You could check when if they watched it or not. And I think I'm onto you as far as what you're thinking with AI, is that you record one and the greeting which says Mr. Smith will change to Mr. Right?
Exactly. It's all that stuff, and it's all in the exploration stage right now. So, but that's kind of the mindset. That's where I want to go to. We can't do it all. And if I can just save seconds per call or minutes per call, you multiply that times 11 calls, 11 people, those are minutes that could be used for something else. And if not for anything, they could go home early. but not to spend the extra money, and time for something that's just not going to generate anything, anything extra other than, burnout of staff, burnout of agency owners, and even clients. I mean, clients sometimes may not get the full picture, by doing the video. I believe it's going to be a game changer, and we're working on those, this week and next week, given the first big change that's happening with farmers with the with the pay in fulls. So we're going to start off with that. So luckily farmers has been very nice that they're not implementing all these things at the exact same time. So I believe that this is a good test market, to use it for the non-good drivers, one pay on renewal. So
That's April, right?
that would be April. Yes, the first week of April.
Yep. Now, there is another thing that's happening around that same time, though, is that, amongst all these things that's going on, we have to write a lot more life policies, right?
That is correct. So that was an easy change on our agency, in the sense where I just now have incentives for all the staff for us to hit the goals. So that's the only change that I've done so far, is just to look, guys, this is what we need to do. And every single agency, everyone in the office is somehow going to benefit from this, right? You hit our goals and we'll do trips, we'll do compensation, we'll do bonuses, we'll do commission for those who are licensed. So in some way, shape, or form involving the office. And I hope that would be enough. And if not, we'll adjust accordingly to do so. I mean, 3 life policies a quarter is not it's not difficult, if you just do your best and just keep it on the top of your mind that that's important. So there's a lot of great life agents that I try and pick their brains. It's very doable at this time. So I think you just have to. So I think a minor change like that will help us achieve those goals.
What about to get to 18?
That's a little harder. That's definitely a little harder. I mean, that's definitely a goal of ours. Again, you can only do so much, right? So working on, trying to build your commercial book, working on life, working on, how to maneuver through the non-renewals, working on the new pay plan changes, working on the blocks, right? So it's kind of hard. So we're doing everything as we can. So although the 18 life policies may make financial sense to focus on, it also makes financial sense to protect your book, right? And I think by communication with your clients and being able to proactively reach out could be just as lucrative as, issuing the higher life policies. So I love to do both, and if I can, I will. But right now, our priority is just to get the technology, the systems in place so that we can duplicate this as changes go down the line. And then once we have that, then we could focus on issuing 30 life policies a quarter or 100 life policies a quarter, whatever it's going to take to make that happen.
Yeah. One at a time, right?
One at a time.
We can't get overwhelmed with all the responsibilities we have, but maybe a video might be a good idea there too.
Yeah, exactly. So a video, email template. So that's one of the things that we're doing is within our video template. One of the things that we're doing is we are leveraging, like, hey, one of the alternatives is to apply for more discounts, right? So when hey, I saw in your video that you said that one of the alternatives is that I can get more discounts on my auto policy to minimize that one pay. What are those discounts? Well, the most important discount is your life discount. We could do this, we can, if you have a small mortgage, we could issue you, $200,000 mortgage or $100,000 mortgage. We can issue you a simple term, 20-year policy. It'll cost you $25 a month, and we could save you 4% on your autos. You're currently paying $700 a month, or even in this case, you're paying $2,000 for the pay in full. That's a savings of $80, right off the bat. So that's going to your first 5-6 months of this policy will be taken care of off the discount. So at least if you're going to pay the full amount, you're getting additional value for it.
Yeah, and it's just a conversation starter.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just something to start with. And obviously, the goal here is to make sure that they renew that policy, as a pay in full customer, and provide them additional value for that same premium.
Yeah. No, yeah, you got me thinking, we have a lot of opportunities to communicate with clients now. So again, whenever there's a disruption, there's opportunity. So talking about, life insurance, I think is something that's going to be we should do to kind of take care of two of our challenges at once.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So what are some advice to some of the, tenured agents or agents that maybe to even yourself, what's next for you? What are some things that you have on your mind as far as what's going to take you to the next level?
So I think here is just it's a patience game, right? So there's going to be so many opportunities that are going to open up from farmers, whether it be other agents may choose to exit the industry and opportunities for us to acquire those books, opportunities to merge, opportunities to to be able to become bigger and stronger. I know that is the ultimate vision. To do so, and I want to be here when that happens. I heard once many years ago by a territory executive, who was one many years ago, and one of the biggest things that he said that sticks to me today is that in the early 2000s, right, there was tens of thousands of travel agents, right, around the nation, right. Travel agency was a huge market for people, and it was huge. Obviously, as Expedia and all these other online travel agencies came, there was a shift, right, and a lot of these travel agencies, unfortunately, exited the market because they couldn't compete with the Expedias. But as of today, right, AAA is still one of the largest travel agencies in the nation, and there are still many travel agencies in the nation. So what that resonated with me is that there's always going to be a need for that human interaction and that human touch, right? There may not that big of a need, right? But what happens is when you become strong and you become competitive, right, you can leverage what you have. And what we have is relationships with clients. We have face-to-face contact. We have that agent relationship. So it's going to take a very, very long time. Is it possible that it's going to be less needed? Yes, but the ones that are needed is what we're going to be here for. So there is a market for it. There's a strong market for it. And there will be a market for it for many years to come. And there may be less insurance agents in 10 years or 15 or 20 years, but the ones that are still around are going to make so much more money and have so much more resources available to them than 10 years earlier.
Yeah, this is a time, yeah, the competition is going to get weaker. So I do agree with you. There's probably maybe less agents, but the agents that do survive will be stronger. So that's good insight there. And that's something to kind of get excited for, at the same time also be prepared for, and kind of have your mindset ready that, hey, I got to go to battle and really stand out and really become a winner in this business, because it's either you become really big or you may not be in business in 5 to 10 years. So there really may not be like a middle, ground. So yeah, good stuff there, Richard. Yeah. Man, it's kind of scary to think about it at the same time, but it's also exciting to think about it too.
It's very excited. Those that have the right mindset and the right attitude are going to 100% stand above everyone else. I have no problem if farmers would terminate all agents tomorrow. I know that I have the experience, the attitude, the knowledge to go and do something different tomorrow. Right. You have to be very confident in your personal abilities, that you don't rely on one company, right, or one product to define who you are. So just being strong mentally, learning different talents during the process, learning how to maneuver through competitive advantage, learning how to manage staff, learning how to manage payroll, accounting, finance, being a good business owner will set you apart, where it doesn't matter if it's Farmers or Allstate or State Farm, that you're going to be marketable in anything that you do tomorrow.
Man, that's great confidence. And that's really well said, because whatever happens, they can't take away our skills
It can never take away our skills. Absolutely.
that we've been able to gain throughout all these years. And that's going to be something that will take forever, But I'm with you. I have a lot of optimism with the company direction. We have to make adjustments when difficult times arise, and the company makes it very clear what they want. So we just have to kind of understand that and play the game of knowing what they want and trying to provide, do our best to provide what they're looking for. So yeah, great stuff there. Yeah, anything else we felt like we should have touched, Richard? I mean, you just have so much knowledge, you know. That's I think one thing I struggle with is product knowledge. But not just product knowledge, but just the industry as a whole, looking at the big picture stuff. I think it was great, but anything else you want to touch on that, you feel like I didn't lead you to the right direction, or anything that we missed on?
I think you did a great job. I just think that just really understanding the business side on both sides just will put everyone at a much better partnership position, and understanding that if Farmers doesn't want something, you can take that somewhere else. It's if Farmers doesn't want you to write XYZ product today, we have a contract that allows us to write XYZ products somewhere else. Like, we don't have to fight with our partner, because our partner has the right to pick and choose what's going to benefit them at that time. And we have the right to choose to go outside and temporarily until everything gets aligned. So I just think just having that partnership mentality will get agents through these tough times in an easier way.
Yeah, it's definitely a partnership. I think that is really important for us to remind ourselves that, hey, we're in this together. It just can't be too favorable for the agent side, and that's could lead to bad things for the company, and if it's bad for the company, it's definitely in the long term not good for us.
Exactly.
So being able to see their perspective, I think, is super important. Understanding why they're making changes and not fighting against it, because we're just one agency. It's like we're even lucky that they even care about how we feel sometimes, and that they'll listen to us and take feedback. But yeah, great stuff, Richard. I just want to acknowledge you, man, for just being a voice for the agents. I think it takes a certain person to be able to speak their mind in a very reasonable way, and having the persistency, but just representing us in a lot of ways. In many of the meetings I've been to, I think you're a voice for the agents, and then yeah, someone that I'm looking forward to just keeping in touch with and witnessing us together, because we kind of started at the same time. I'm an agent for 15 years too, and seeing where this business takes us. But yeah, I'm all excited, and I'm just really happy to know to say that I get to call you a friend, and get to bounce off ideas with you from now on. So thank you very much for being on the show, Richard, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.